Okay, today we're going to be putting on the tail light. You see that one there, and you go to this one, and it looks cleaner, but what it is the lens is actually missing. What happened was I was driving through a car wash, I think evidently, and it just fell right off during the wind tunnel. So I have purchased another light. Here it is here. We bought it aftermarket through Amazon. It was fairly cheap. I want to say 40, 50 bucks maybe. And I say cheap compared to the dealership. Dealership's like $200-300 for this light. So I purchased this, and it looks like it came with all the wiring and everything. So all we're gonna have to do is actually pull this. This is probably gonna be a plug that's going through the body, and disconnect this harness and plug it in. So we don't have to change any bulbs or anything like that. So today I have one of our seniors, Mariah. She's gonna start working on this. So first things first, she's gonna remove this trim panel. And to do that, you have to lift the carpet. She's grabbing it and it's held on by clips. So she pops that right off. And we can set that aside. Then the other thing that's gonna have to happen, there's a push pin on the inside that she's gonna have to get access to, and pop that push pin out. So to get that push pin out, she's gonna get to the center of the, and just so you guys know, it looks very similar to these push pins here, so you can get a better view. And all she's gonna do is get underneath that push pin and pry it up. So she's gonna hook it and just twist it, and that'll lift that up. And it's not gonna come all the way out, and it'll come out just about that much. And then from there, she could just lift it, it'll wiggle it out. See, there's a push pin. So to push it back in, she's gonna put that back in that hole and then push down. All right, so here she goes. Okay, so she's got the push pin pulled out, and now she needs to find the bolts that actually hold it on. So the good way of doing that is compare it to the new tail light. And looking at the new tail light, it looks like we have at least 2 bolts that are on. So if this is sitting like that, it's gonna be these 2 on the inside. So Mariah, if you could pull that carpet back. And it looks like you can see one right away, which is that one there. And it has, it looks like just the wire harness is connected to it. So simply, she's just gonna wiggle that and pull it away. So if you can wiggle that and move that, Mariah. All right, and now she can get access to that bolt. It looks like these are 8 millimeters, so she's gonna go grab a socket and get that ready. Meanwhile, the top part of the harness is also there, so I'll pull that out of the way for her, so she can at least get to those 2 bolts. And looking at this again, we got the 2 bolts that we're looking at right now are this one and that one. And it looks like all the rest of the bolt, or not even bolts, they're just push pins. So hopefully we could just take those 2 bolts out, those 2 nuts, and then we could put, with some force, we can pull the tail light out. Okay, so Mariah's got her 8 millimeter now, so she's gonna start loosening those 2 nuts and get them out of the way. And like I said, I don't think anything else is holding on but those 2. So hopefully I'm right, and it'll be a pretty quick, fast repair. Okay, Mariah's pulled off both of those nuts now, so all she's gonna do is simply, well, she did it before I even got to it. She simply just got behind it and pulled it forward. And like I said, it was just little clips that were holding on. And so now that we got this tail light pulled out, you can kind of see where I was talking about how it has a plug that goes in the body. And simply all she's gonna do is get under there and squeeze it together. It's just rubber, and try to pull that harness through. So if you can, get to the outside lip of it, of the rubber part of the seal right here, and push down on it. There you go. All right, and she's pulled it out. Now she's gonna get to the other side and unplug the harness. Just follow that wire harness going down. Now there should be a tab. Let's see, looking at this one, there's a little tab right there that needs to be pressed down to release the whole harness. And it's probably gonna be pretty hard to do. There it goes. All right, so now she can just take that wire and feed it through the hole, and it's removed. So now we want to compare the old one to the new one. We already knew what the outside looked like. So everything looks like it's mounts in the same place, all the same points. So everything looks like it'll go in just fine. So now we're going to install the new one. So to install the new one, all she's going to do is feed her harness back in all the way to that plug. And if she lines up the plug just right, she could just pull it through and it'll seat right back in place. Another thing that kind of helps when she's doing that is if you have an extra free hand, you can push it in on this side and just work it around and get it seated. And it has little grooves in it. There it goes. So it'll sit just right. So now she can pull that wire harness through if need to get those wires out of the way, but if it's long enough, that's fine. We just want to make sure those wires don't show on the outside of the car. So as she's doing that, she can go ahead and mount her tail light back into place. Lining up all her pinholes. And she's gonna have to give it a slight push to get it to snap in. So you see right here the gap. So sometimes you gotta be a little forceful with it. Give it a good popping. Actually, I don't even like the way that went in too good. And that could be because this car was wrecked at one point. So what she's gonna do now is just put those two nuts that she took off for the reinstallation. And hopefully that'll pull it close enough as she's tying those down. All right, so she's got those tightened down now. All she's gotta do is connect her wire harness and reinstall the wire holders right back over the existing bolts that were there. That was right. She wants to make sure as she's plugging that in, she felt the click or hear it. There it goes. And now she's gonna put the wire harness back in its place after she snugs those bolts down one more time. Now, anytime you're dealing with tail lights and plastic stuff that the bolts are embedded into the housing, you want to be careful not to over tighten them because sometimes they'll strip out and then you got another problem there. So you don't want to over tighten these. So once you feel it kind of getting pretty snug, that's pretty good rule of thumb of how far you got to tighten it down. All right, so it looks like she's got everything installed there. All she needs to do is pull that carpet back and put her push pin back in, align that hole. Now make sure when you put that push pin out in, yeah, you pull that out so it'll squeeze together. And sometimes what I found is if you get, because it's got three little prongs, you get one prong in, you kind of twist it as you're going in, and it helps get the other prongs in. And sometimes it can be really hard to get them both, all three of them to go in at one time. All right, so she's got her carpet clipped in. So now she needs to reinstall this plastic trim panel. So she's pulling up the spare tire cover. She'll slide that in, and she noticed that the top part has to slide in first before she clips in the bottom half. So she's going to line that up. Sounds about right. And then now she'll lift that carpet back up and she'll basically just hit it towards the back of the car. Just snap in. There it goes. Okay, Mariah, if I can get you to get in the car and go ahead and start it up. Let's check the lights, make sure we're all working. Can you hit the brake lights, Mariah? All right, looks like we got both brake lights working. Can you turn the signal light on? Okay, left side, right side. Okay, and while your foot's on the brake, can you put it in reverse? Okay, so it looks like all our lights are working. Put it back in park. Okay, good to go. That's what we're trying to do.